There is a specific kind of person who lies awake at 2 a.m. They're good at their job. People come to them for answers. They can hold three problems in their head at once and see the flaw in all of them. And every single night, that exact machine turns inward and refuses to shut off. They replay a conversation from a meeting 6 hours ago, then one from 6 years ago. They argue with people who are asleep. They rehearse a disaster that will never happen in full detail with dialogue. And here's the part that makes them feel insane. They know it's pointless. They can see in real time that none of this helps. They tell themselves to stop. It doesn't stop, so they lie there. One of the sharpest people in any room they walk into, completely unable to control the one thing that is supposed to be theirs, their own mind. You already know why I'm describing you. So let me ask you the question this whole thing turns on, and I want you to actually answer it in your head before I go on. The people who overthink the most, who spiral the hardest at night, who can't let a single thing go, are those the weakest minds or the strongest? Pick one. Lock it in. Because the answer is not the comforting one. And it's going to change how you see every sleepless night you've ever had. Here's what you've been told your whole life. Overthinking is a flaw, a glitch, anxiety you need to manage, a weakness you need to fix, a bad habit you need to break. Something has gone wrong with you. And if you were just a little calmer, a little stronger, a little more disciplined, it would stop. Every part of that is wrong. And the truth is so much stranger. You can't stop thinking because thinking is the single thing your brain was built to never stop doing. Overthinking is not your brain failing. It is your brain succeeding at the one task it was designed for, with no way to turn the success off. And it gets sharper. Because the better your brain is, the worse this gets. Let me show you the evidence, because this is the part nobody says out loud. In 2015, a group of researchers at Lakehead University did something simple. They took a room full of people, measured how much they worried and ruminated, and then measured their verbal intelligence. The kind that handles language, reasoning, running detailed scenarios in your head. The common sense guess is that the anxious, spiraling people would score lower, calmer mind, sharper mind. Right? The opposite. Verbal intelligence predicted more worry, more rumination. The people whose minds wouldn't stop were, on that measure, the more intelligent ones. Now, one study on a room of students is a hint, not a law. And I'll hold it exactly that loosely. But it didn't stay one study. Researchers went back with a sample of over 700 people, tracked for years, and found the same thread. The tendency to turn a thought over and over tied to higher intelligence, not lower. The researcher's own explanation is the whole video in one sentence. A more intelligent mind can model the past and the future in greater detail. So it runs richer simulations, considers more angles, spots more things that could go wrong, and that exact gift, running at night with nothing to solve, is the thing keeping you awake. The spiral isn't the failure of a weak mind, it's the overflow of a strong one. So where did this engine come from? Because a brain this relentless didn't appear by accident. Go back. Not 100 years. 100,000. For most of human history, your ancestors woke up inside one of the most dangerous environments a thinking creature has ever survived. No hospitals, no locked doors, no safety of any kind. A single misread situation near a watering hole could end the entire bloodline. In that world, one skill separated the living from the dead. Not strength, not speed, simulation. The ability to sit in the dark and run tomorrow in your head. Where will the herd move? Where could the ambush come from? What happens if the rains are late? The mind that could vividly imagine a danger that had not happened yet and prepare for it. 8. The mind that couldn't, didn't. Almost nothing else on earth can do this. Your dog cannot lie awake dreading Monday. Your ability to suffer over a future that does not exist is one of the rarest cognitive achievements in the animal kingdom. And the people who did it best, who ran the most detailed simulations, who caught the most threats before they arrived, those were your most successful ancestors. You are the inheritor of 100,000 years of the most anxious, most vigilant, most relentlessly simulating minds that ever lived. They outsurvived the calm ones. That is why you're here. which means the 2 a.m. spiral is not a malfunction, it is a 500 generation success story, running in a bedroom, with nothing left to hunt. There's a name for the machine that does this. Neuroscientists call it the default mode network. And the word default is the whole point. It's what your brain does by default. The second you stop giving it a task, not when something's wrong. When nothing is, you sit down, the meeting ends. The phone goes dark. You lie down. And the instant there is no problem in front of you, the network switches on and goes looking for one. It rakes through the past. It gambles on the future. It stress tests scenarios that will never happen. It is, right now, the reason a quiet moment can feel more threatening than a busy one. And in 2010, 2 Harvard psychologists measured just how much of your life this eats. They built an app that pinged thousands of people at random and asked where their mind actually was. 250,000 answers later, the number came back. 47%. Nearly half your waking life, your mind is somewhere other than where your body is. But that's not the unsettling part. This is. When they lined up the timing, the wandering came first. And the unhappiness followed, not the reverse. The drifting mind wasn't escaping a bad mood. It was creating one. And it made no difference where the mind went. People who drifted toward pleasant thoughts were no happier than people simply focused on what they were doing. The researchers put it in one brutal line. The ability to think about what is not happening is a cognitive achievement that comes at an emotional cost. Read that again. A cognitive achievement. The thing tormenting you is filed by the people who study it under achievement. So by now you're doing the natural thing. You're thinking, fine, then I'll get control of it, I'll suppress it, I'll push the thought away, I'll just decide not to think about it. This is the trap, and it's the most important thing in this entire video, because everything you instinctively do to stop overthinking makes it stronger. In 1987, a psychologist named Daniel Wigner ran an experiment so simple it sounds like a joke. He told people one thing: do not think about a white bear. That's it. And ring a bell every time you do. They could not stop. The bell rang and rang. And when he later let them think freely, the bear came flooding back. More than for people who'd never been told to suppress it. Here's what he'd found. When you try not to think about something, part of your mind dutifully looks away. But another part has to keep checking whether the thought is gone. And checking for the thought means holding the thought. The very act of suppression is what keeps it alive. Try it right now. For 5 seconds. Do not picture a white bear. You just did. You couldn't not. That's not weakness. That is the machine. The off switch you keep slamming is physically wired to the on switch, so you're trapped. You can't out-suppress it because suppression feeds it. You can't out-think it because thinking is it. The harder the intelligent mind fights, the tighter the knot pulls. This is why the smartest people are so often the most exhausted. They're the ones with enough horsepower to fight it hardest. And the fight is the fuel, which is exactly where it seems like there's no way out. So watch what happens when someone stops fighting. In 2011, a neuroscientist named Judson Brewer put experienced meditators into brain scanners, expecting to find quieter minds. That's not what he found. Their default mode network was measurably deactivated, the core of the overthinking machine, turned down, across every kind of meditation they tried. But the scans showed something no one expected. It wasn't switched off by force. While the wandering network went quiet, the regions tied to noticing and control stayed lit up right beside it. They weren't suppressing anything. There was no white bear, no fight, no bell. They had learned to do the one thing the intelligent mind never does. Watch a thought arrive, and let it go past without chasing it. The thought fires. The simulation starts. And instead of grabbing it, instead of treating it as an emergency that demands a response, the mind just notices it and lets it move on. The old scanning system runs its check, gets no reaction, and slowly turns its own volume down. The brain learns over weeks that the signal doesn't require action, and that's the reframe that breaks the whole problem open. The goal was never to think less. A mind like yours is never going to think less. The goal is to stop treating every thought like a predator in the dark. You don't fix the engine, you take your hands off the wheel. So here's where that leaves you. The spiral at 2 a.m. is not the sound of a broken mind, it's the sound of a powerful one, built by 100,000 years of survival, handed a gift so rare that almost nothing else alive even has it, and then left running in a world with no watering holes and no predators and nothing left to hunt. So it hunts you. And that question I asked at the start, the overthinkers, the strongest minds, or the weakest? If you said weakest, you were describing the most successful cognitive machine your species ever produced, doing exactly what made it win. It was never a defect, it was the receipt. Your brain is not broken, it is brilliant, and it is tired, and it has never once been shown how to rest. So here's the thing I keep turning over, and I want to know where you land. If the part of your mind that won't shut off is the same part that made you good at everything else, then quieting it might cost you something. Maybe the edge and the exhaustion are the same wire. So tell me honestly, if you could flip a switch tonight and make the overthinking stop forever, no more 2 a.m., no more spirals, would you do it? Or are you quietly afraid of who you'd be without it?